that amplifies these voices, stories, and reports that make the difference. This is Agidigbo News, 88.7 FM, the people's voice.
This is Kunle Amzat Studio, Agidigbo 88.7 FM. Welcome to News Around the World.
Good evening, welcome to News Around the World on Agidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan, the most listened to radio station. I am Wuraola Yusuff. The headlines: NYSC set for major reset to drive national unity. ANPN names Wuraola Yusuff a champion of social justice in media. Keir Starmer becomes the first UK PM to receive France's Legion d'Honneur. Iran threatens to block more trade routes as US launches fresh strikes. Tuchel says England weighing man-marking plan for Lionel Messi. And now the details. 53 years after General Yakubu Gowon launched the National Youth Service Corps to heal a nation fractured by civil war, the scheme is getting its biggest reset yet. Created on June 4, 1973, to drive national unity by posting graduates outside their home states, NYSC has mobilized millions of young Nigerians. Now, President Bola Tinubu has approved a sweeping overhaul aimed at turning it from a post-war reconciliation program into what the federal government calls an economic engine. On this edition of The Big Story, the Big Story crew focus on how NYSC is being transformed from a mandatory unity service into a career-focused program that equips graduates with practical skills, improving safety, structure, and professionalism. Jehovah Tobi Olaiju brings the reports.
On June 4, 1973, General Yakubu Gowon launched the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, to foster national unity and reconciliation after the Nigerian Civil War, and integration by requiring young graduates to live and work outside their home states in a bid to expose young Nigerians to different cultures.
Must be fully mobilized and be prepared to offer willingly and without asking for rewards in return, their best in the service of their nation at all times. The establishment of the National Youth Service Corps is the first step towards the realization of this lofty goal. In conclusion, I wish to assure you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Directorate of the National Youth Service Corps, of the full support and cooperation of all the governments in the Federation in your undertakings. Yours is not an easy assignment, and the whole world will watch to see what you make of this bold and challenging venture. God willing, you will not fail.
That unity mandate has led to the mobilization of millions of young Nigerian graduates for a mandatory one-year service. However, 53 years later, President Bola Tinubu approved the most far-reaching overhaul of the NYSC. The NYSC reform, as announced by the Minister of Youth, Dr. Ayodele Olawande, will transform the scheme from a post-war reconciliation tool to an economic engine.
And I'm happy to tell you that it has been approved for the reform of National Youth Service Corps. For over half decade, 1973, that this scheme has been funded, created by the country for national unity and civil after the Civil War.
If eventually implemented, the NYSC reform will bring significant changes from the structure of the orientation camp to dress codes and the introduction of new specialized streams. The federal government's newly approved reform of the NYSC splits the orientation program into 3 distinct phases and introduces 11 specialized career streams that corps members will select from at registration. The orientation program, extended from 3 weeks to 6, will be broken into 3 two-week phases. The first 2 weeks will focus on civic responsibility, national values, and leadership development. The next 2 weeks will cover career mapping, basic accounting, and financial literacy, business planning, and access to finance. The final 2 weeks, which Usman described as a minimal period, will be dedicated to stream-specific training aligned with each core member's designated stream based on their choice, academic background, and skill profile. That concludes our big story for this week. Join us next week as we continue our in-depth look at the proposed NYSC reforms and what they mean for core members. Jehovah Tobi, Olaiju, Agidigbo FM News.
The Association of Independent Newspaper Publishers of Nigeria, AINPN, Southwest Chapter, has honored the chairman of Agidigbo 88.7 FM, Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat, with a Champion of Social Justice in Media Award. The presentation was made at the 2026 Southwest Leadership Icon Award held in Ibadan, Oyo State. Speaking after receiving the award, Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat said his political ambition is driven by his passion to serve the people and improve governance in Oyo State.
My move for coming out as a gubernatorial candidate under Accord Party in Oyo State is just the only move that prompted a lawyer, the only move that prompted an engineer to come out and rule the state. It's the only one that prompted a broadcaster, a media person, to come out and rule the state.
Alhaji Oriyomi also expressed appreciation to the Association of Independent Newspaper Publishers of Nigeria for recognizing his contributions to humanity and pledged to remain committed to promoting justice, good governance, and the welfare of the people. The Women Broadcasters Forum in Nigeria and Diaspora paid a courtesy visit to their grand patron, the chairman of Agidigbo FM and 2027 governorship candidate of the Accord, Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat, today at his private residence in Ibadan. While charging Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat not to bow to any form of societal intimidation on his political journey, the association urged him to remain focused on the people's mandate, noting that they believe in him. Agidigbo FM correspondent Benga Desuyi was at the meeting. Here are the details.
The executive members of the Women Broadcasters Forum paid a solidarity visit to their patron, who is also the man of the people and 2027 Oyo State governorship candidate for the Accord political party, Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat, emphasizing the need for the protection of women in the broadcasting profession. In their separate addresses, the president of the Women Broadcasters Forum, Mrs. Tolani Aladelaja, and one of the board of trustee members of the association, Alhaji Aminat Adeto Motala, urged Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat to remain steadfast in his vision against all forms of distractions.
We are here, to let you know that we stand by you, we've been with you, and shall continue to be with you. We are advising you, sir, to just face where you are going. Whatever people like as a game in political sector, please don't mind anyone. Have your vision, protect it, then guide it through. Continue moving, and by God's grace, it shall be well with you. In the name of Jesus.
Now, on behalf of everybody here and all others, we want to pray for you. That Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to protect you for us. Amen. Because we know what is going on.
Acknowledging the family bond which exists between Oriyomi Hamzat and the women broadcasters, Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat said the women have for many years supported their male counterparts. Alhaji Hamzat pledged to always be of immense support to the Women Broadcasters Forum.
I really want God to use me for this forum. I really want God to. I have my reasons. Yeah, female broadcasters will took you around for years. You did not have your own local standing to say you want to do your own things. You are just following us. And I will forever be part of it. I will depend on your presence and your absence. Yes.
The meeting was attended by members of the Women Association from across various media houses in Oyo State. Benga Deshui, Agidigbo 88.7 FM News.
Now it is time to link up with our United Kingdom studio for the foreign news.
News from Kulamza Studio, Agidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Olushola Damilola Sir Keir Starmer has become the first UK Prime Minister to be presented with the Legion d'Honneur by a French president in recognition of his work with France on the security of Europe. Emmanuel awarded the historic honor to Starmer for his leadership in setting up the coalition of the willing. The only other British Prime Minister to receive a similar award at a higher level was Winston Churchill in 1958 in recognition of his leadership and close ties to France during the Second World War. When presenting the award, Macron said Starmer had played a historic role in establishing the group of countries to support Ukraine. The Coalition of the Willing is a group of over 30 countries that have pledged financial and military support to Ukraine, placed sanctions on Russia, and proposed deployment of a multinational peacekeeping force. The United Kingdom will hold its largest home defense exercise in decades next year to better prepare the country for the possibility of war. The Cabinet Office said the scenario will likely involve ministers as well as hundreds of officials from across the government and the public sector, although the kind of threats that will be simulated were not mentioned, but they could involve cyber attacks, sabotage, or assassinations. The war game will run across a number of days and will complement a wider NATO exercise. And that ends the news from Hamzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United Kingdom. I am Olushola Damilola.
You're welcome back. We shall also be moving to our Maryland studio, United States, for more foreign news.
News from Kule Hamzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am Oluwatosin Sonya. Iran has threatened to block further trading routes in the region as the United States launched a fresh wave of strikes on military targets. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said the Strait of Hormuz would remain shut until the United States ended its act of aggression. They also threatened to close off other regional oil and gas export channels. The warning came as the U.S. military's Central Command said it had carried out drone, air, and navy strikes on Iran on Wednesday morning, following another 7-hour operation overnight. The new attacks have also triggered a sharp rise in oil prices as tanker traffic through the vital shipping route has virtually stalled. On Tuesday, U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to strike Iran's bridges and power plants next week if the country did not return to talks. The escalation in rhetoric came after Trump said a 20% toll he had threatened to impose in the Strait of Hormuz would be replaced by massive trade and investment deals with Gulf states. The Trump administration is blocking American citizens in the Democratic Republic of Congo from traveling to the United States on commercial flights, according to a White House official. The order, which has been taken under a transportation authority known as Title 49, will place U.S. citizens in Congo or those who have recently left on a do not board list until they have spent at least 21 days in a third country. The new restrictions come amid a widening Ebola outbreak, which has spread to multiple provinces within Congo. The number of confirmed Ebola cases across the country had risen to 1,926, including 202 deaths. Some 24 Americans were set to board flights to the United States on Tuesday after having traveled to Congo, according to the U.S. official who said the State Department would support them and others affected during the waiting period. That ends the news from Kule Hamzat Studio at Gidigbo FM, United States. I am Oluwatosin Sonya.
And now in the exciting world of sports. England coach Thomas Tuchel has said he has considered a man marking Lionel Messi in tonight's World Cup semi-final match against Argentina. Messi is the tournament's joint top scorer on 8 goals, along with Kylian Mbappe, and will face England for the first time in his illustrious career at Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium come 8 p.m. as the winner will take on Spain in Sunday's final in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Messi's 8 goals, which have been accompanied by 2 assists, means he is now the all-time scoring leader in World Cup history with 21 goals. Tuchel also reflected on England's dramatic run to the semi-finals, featuring a late comeback win against DR Congo before beating Mexico 3-2 in Azteca Stadium and grinding their way past Norway after extra time in the sweltering Miami Heat. A win for the Three Lions of England tonight against Argentina will make them 1 game closer to win the Mundial, the last one at a home soil in 1966. To wrap up the news this evening, here is a recap of the headlines. NYSC set for major reset to drive national unity. AINPN names Wuraola Yusuff a champion of social justice in media. Keir Starmer becomes the first UK PM to receive France's Legion d'Honneur. Iran threatens to block more trade routes as US launches fresh strikes. Tuchel says England weighing man-marking plan for Lionel Messi.
Don't forget that you can listen to us live on our website www.agidigbo88.7fm.com. You can also download our mobile app on Google Play Store and iOS. Simply search for Agidigbo 88.7 FM. Follow us on Facebook at Agidigbo 88.7 FM, on Twitter and Instagram at Agidigbo 887 FM, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have news stories and tips for us, contact our newsroom on 070-8714-4865 or send us a mail on newsroom@agidigbo887fm.com.
And before we go this evening, here's a quick tip. Too many people buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they do not know. Finally, we have come to the end of the news around the world on Agidigbo 88.7 FM Ibadan, the most listened to radio station. I am Wuraola Yusuff. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
News is information, and information is power. At Agidigbo 88.7 FM, we bring the news from top to bottom.
The Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, OISEC, has called for continuous collaboration.
We bring you reports from Oyo State.
The Oyo State House of Assembly has called for thorough investigation.
Southwest Nigeria and the rest of the world
Has clarified that the body did not receive any cash support from international development.
Trust us to keep you informed every hour, every day.
Agidigbo 88.7 FM.